We want the three of you to tell a scary story. A very scary story.
I take your body and turn it into little pieces. I'll hide the evidence and act like everything's fine. I take your body and turn it into little pieces. I'll hide the evidence and act like everything's fine.
And the bear gets you. Garfield, you are too much sometimes. Too much. Hello, YouTube, and welcome back to another episode of Nimrod Horror Review. And today is actually the 50th episode. And in celebration, I will be reviewing my first ever TV show. And this one's the early 90s Nickelodeon classic, Are You Afraid of the Dark? And also, Freddy's back. Are You Afraid of the Dark was basically a kid's version of Tales from the Crypt. There was always that sense of horror, but also a little bit of cheese, and in this case, a lot of corniness, because since it's a kids show. The basic premise of every episode was this group of tweens, kids between 10 through 14 would get together around a campfire in some woods, and it was always nighttime. And each episode, a different kid would sit down and tell everyone the story that week. And every single story title had to be the tale of whatever the story is about. The tale of the lonely ghost, the tale of the missing soap, whatever the story was, it was always set up the same way. Now, overall, the episodes were, pretty campy, pretty safe, and, because, no one's, they're not going to show people getting killed to, little kids watch it, because the demographic for the show was also pretty much 9 years old through about 13 or 14. So there's not much violence, but the show did have a lot of creepy moments. I remember a episode where a little girl gets trapped into this dollhouse, and she becomes a doll, but she still moves and walks around and talks, barely talks, but she looked very kind of creepy, ooh, spooky. And then on top of my head, I remember there's another episode about teenage girl modeling where someone steals their faces and then replaces it with these very creepy looking just plain mask with the eyes covered, and there's very few things freakier than just plain mask with not much detail. Just look at the Halloween series. It's great. It's just plain white. That is up until Rob Zombie ruined it. And then there's this one episode in particular that scared me for years. Not even a month. Literally, it was maybe 2 to 3 years. It spooked me. I had to do certain things within the house to make sure that that a ghost wasn't going to be there. So that story involved this dead girl who's now like stuck in this mirror world where she would appear in her old bedroom. She would appear in this like long closet mirror, and she just looked so ghostly and freaky. It freaked me out. And then the fact that she was writing "Help Me" on the walls, and that's one of those stories that didn't really end too happy, because like the girl doesn't get out of the mirror and she was lost. No, the girl died, and she just wants her mom to join her in death. So that one maybe wasn't the best ender, and yeah, that episode freaked me out for years. Like I said, couldn't look at mirrors. So stories like that really made the series. They weren't all creepy, but the ones that were, did a great job on it. And it was just kind of a trending thing during the early 90s, was to just scare kids. I don't know why it was, but it's just how it was. I mean, there was also Goosebumps and R.L. Stein's other books that were just big sellers. And then the Goosebumps TV show, we also had Tales from the Crypt Keeper, which was a cartoon show that really wasn't scary, but you know, it was intended to scare people, to scare kids. And we also had Scary Stories series, which was a book series designed for kids with just creepy stories and creepy art. That art has been recently altered because it is way too scary for kids. But I mean, it was just a time period where I guess adults wanted to just scare kids. I don't know why. And that can explain a few things now these days. But overall, I mean, it's a very entertaining show. For me and a lot of people, it has a lot of nostalgia behind it. And I definitely, if I have a kid, will introduce them to the show, and hopefully they'll enjoy it just like I did. And it's just, it was a big part of growing up for like a lot of people in my I guess time frame. You know, a early 90s kid, you know, in their 30s now, or, you know, 30s-ish now. And definitely looking back on the showdown, I obviously am not the fan I was back then. I don't care to watch every episode. But if you start one, I'll sit down and watch it and reflect on the feelings that I had back then, and then compare them to now. And it's a very enjoyable show. That's why I will give this a pretty steady 7 out of 10 storytellers. There's a lot of 7s, but this one's worthy of a 7. See you guys next time as storytellers roll on.